All right, time is 9 o'clock. So we're going to call this meeting to order of the December 20th special called board meeting. Time is 9 a.m. We're going to establish a quorum. So all are present, five are present, two are remote. Do the invocation. Lord Heavenly Father, please bless this meeting. Please bless our employees, our staff members during this Christmas season. Please watch over us and guide us in our decisions we make today. Amen. Pledge allegiance. To the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, for liberty and justice for all. All right, agenda item C, public comment. GVSUD welcomes public participation. If you're unable to attend this meeting, a written comment with your name and the topic of the agenda item that you wish to address can be emailed or delivered to the GVSUD office located at 605 FM 465, Marion, Texas 78124. Attention to Cody Downing, Public Information Officer, or email. Written comments must be submitted and received no later than 3 p.m. December 19th. Please remember public comments limited to 3 minutes per person. Time may not be shared or ceded to any other citizen. Currently, I have Don Beck and Alan Hoover on here. So Don, if you'd like to come up, thank you.
All right, thank you guys. First of all, I want to thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Don Beck. I'm the superintendent at Marion ISD, just across the street over here. And as you're well aware, as evidenced by the agenda today, that our school district is growing. In fact, we're in the process of purchasing a portion of the Given to Fly land that they have out there for a future school. So we know there's a lot of kiddos coming out in that little area. And with that growth means our school has to expand here within Marion ISD to keep up with this growth. And you may be aware that our school district passed a bond in order to expand our footprint on our current property. And with this expansion comes new standards that would put into place that weren't in place before due to the age of the buildings, and that is fire suppression system that we didn't have to have before with sprinkling involved. We are currently in the city of Marion, CCN. Their water system cannot provide us what is needed to both provide enough pressure for both the fire hydrants and the fire suppression system simultaneously. Now that scenario puts us in a predicament when it comes to providing fire suppression for our staff and students. Previous discussion with Green Valley by the former superintendent Kelly Lindholm and my own conversation a couple months ago suggested that Green Valley could provide the water needed to meet this requirement for the fire marshal, provided certain things were put into place. I have called the PUC and spoke to the Division of Utility Outreach just yesterday, and they said that the CCN boundaries were created to designate for drinking water and drinking water only. And so since we were talking about fire suppression and not drinking water, the CCN boundaries do not come into play based on the conversation I had yesterday. Now, we are asking the Green Valley SUD to allow for Marion ISD to pay for the infrastructure needed to connect to the lines adjacent to our property. There shouldn't be any cost to the SUD, nor should it require an expansion of the water treatment plant or anything like that, because we're only talking about fire suppression that will only be used in the event of a fire. I am trying everything that I know to do, first, to keep the staff and students safe, and secondly, to be a good steward for our taxpayers for Marion ISD to not have to do other things that may have to be put in place. And should you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. I've been in contact via email with Katie Durham, Cody Downing, and Lindy Wright. The laws allow for this partnership to happen. I'm just requesting to let us discuss the possibilities and allow our architect to test the fire hydrants to see if this is feasible with your water system. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to hearing from you.
Sir, very briefly, I desperately was trying to jot down notes. Would it be acceptable to let one of the ladies copy your notes so that I can make sure I understood everything is that, anybody see a reason we can't do that?
No, yeah,
I was trying to keep up. I get the intent of what you were saying, but I want to make sure I didn't miss anything.
Sure, yes, sir. Not a problem. I'll give this to him.
Yeah, if you can send it to the whole board. Thanks.
All right, thank you.
All right, Mr. Alan Hoover.
Morning, board. Alan Hoover, Mosaic Land Development. Basically, I just want to thank everybody for taking their time. I wanted to be here. If y'all are giving up your time to be here to address and look at some of our agenda items and doing the special meeting for us, I just want to know that we appreciate it. And anyway, I'm available for questioning, but we've got the we own both the properties that you're looking at this morning for the non-standard service agreements. And should be trying to get both of those kicked off right after the first of the year. Certainly Cadence Springs will start, just as soon as possible. We've got to get plan approval still from Green Valley, but anyway, we're excited to get things rolling. And again, available for any questioning. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I have no one else willing to speak or signed up. So we're going to move to executive session. We are going to hear reports regarding GVHD, water, CCN litigation, take action as necessary, and then we're going to come back and go to item D later on. So we're going to go into executive session.
Mr.
Time
Prius,
is
no action in executive session,
no action for that one.
no action in executive session. We would come
Correct.
out of
Correct.
open. Okay.
Correct.
Just make sure.
Time is 9:06. All right, time is 10:02. We are going back into open session. So some housekeeping matters. We also took item D under Texas Government Code Section 551.071, consultation with legal counsel on matters of item D. So that was also discussed in there. So at this time, now that we are in open session, we are going to items number D. Consider non-standard water and wastewater service agreements and take action as necessary. D1, SA given to Fly LLC Water Service Agreement, also known as Cadence Springs Development, South Santa Clara Road and Lower Seguin Road. Item number 2 was SA given to Fly LLC Wastewater Service Agreement, also known as Cadence Springs Development, South Santa Clara Road.
Mr. Chairman,
Sorry.
don't we need to approve one of these individually?
If we want to do it individually or lump, yeah, we'll do it
Individually.
All right. So, all right, so
I'd
D1.
like to make a motion to approve item D1
Okay, I have a motion by
with
Mr. Cooper.
the recommendation of staff, with staff's recommendations.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Mr. Cooper and a second by Mr. Robertson. All in favor?
Quick discussion.
Aye.
Sorry.
Discussion?
Quick discussion.
Quick,
So, Philip, these D1 and I guess D2 as well, this is a mud, is that correct?
For Cadence Springs, I believe so, yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna go very quickly. My concern with the mud is Mr. Prius and I had a call with, that was the developer, so that I could understand and not be burning up the whole day asking questions here. But it's my understanding that during the development of this mud, Green Valley is going to accept for each lot our water acquisition fee, our water impact fee, and our kayak fee for wastewater. It's my understanding that the water impact fee and the kayak fee, the intent of those fees is to pay for the infrastructure in the ground. So that's my understanding. The way it was explained to John and I yesterday is the developer will give us our fees at the time of the details of when we get those. I don't want to misquote it. The developer will pay for all of the infrastructure. And then at a time in the future, the MUD will issue municipal bonds in the amount that was spent on the infrastructure and reimburse the developer. We went through all the details of how that happens. I was concerned, what if the MUD doesn't do that? It was explained, and John, correct me if I'm saying anything wrong. It was explained that the current board of the MUD will, as one of their first actions, contractually tie the MUD to the developer and require a payment back, issuance of bonds to reimburse the developer at a time certain in the future. My concern is if Green Valley accepts fees and monies that are intended for a certain purpose, and then on the back end via several different operations, the residents of this development are paying for those infrastructure components with interest. In my mind, they're paying for it twice. And I'm concerned that down the road, we might run into some issues there. So that's my major concern with this. I've talked to talked to some folks in Cibolo, I've talked to some folks in Marion. The cities are declining these type of developments for similar concerns. The county can you explain how the
So-
county was involved, John?
The county has certain standards when it comes to ETJ regulations as far as building development, roadways, infrastructure, et cetera. My understanding is MUDs are used as a mechanism to refund the infrastructure cost to the developer instead of the housing price. The housing price itself is taken into consideration that the MUD is separate from those controlled costs that would normally go into a housing cost. So when a house is built, for example, 275,000, when a MUD is incorporated, the debt obligation is not going to that homeowner specifically to absorb the soft costs up front. So roadways, curbs, infrastructure, if in a normal subdivision, that's rolled into the housing price. So what's happening is the MUD is creation to where there's a different debt obligation for that infrastructure service that the homeowner will still need to pay, but it's not on that particular house. So it's a separation of who's paying for what per the house. But in the end user is still paying for everything. It's just a different mechanism. But the streets, utilities, curbs, all that's rolled into the agreement between the developer and the MUD creation. There's also past developments that we've done and approved. Gabe went over that yesterday. There's about 5 or 6 within our CCN that have MUDs already. And we talked about in the future having a check sheet of saying to inform the board, is this a MUD situation or not? So that internally, we're going to be working on that. But other than that,
Yeah, and at a high level,
Pretty
that's
much
my
high level,
concern,
yeah.
that it seems that the end user is paying for this twice. So,
well, it's paying for it initially. So like I said, if you're thinking twice, it would be twice if that home's price also rolled up the cost associated with the infrastructure.
but the sale of the home includes our fees that we require at either
But-
plan approval or plan finalization.
I'm having a hard time understanding how this applies to what we're voting on right now. There is no financial impact to GVSUD or expectation of debt service in the future for this.
Correct.
We're dealing with the voting on Cadence Springs.
Correct. And what we're
water-
clarifying is who's funding what. And that's what I was trying to explain in more detail as the developer's paying us. That's the scope of work as far as Green Valley's relation to MUD situation. The developer and the MUD, that's another party. That's their own contractual part. So that's where we separate ourselves from the MUD situation.
Right, so we are going to accept
The developers
the
fund.
3 fees that we charge for every unit in here.
Correct.
And then the way it was explained
Yeah.
in our call yesterday,
Mhm.
the developer fronts the money to actually put the pipes in the ground. And then later, a municipal bond against those pipes are taken out by the MUD.
But that's with the developer. That has nothing to do with Green Valley. So.
And in the long run, in the end, the end customer, I'm concerned, is going to think that they're paying for something twice and that
That's-
maybe Green Valley didn't use our fees for what they were intended for. And the developer actually said, well, what y'all do with your money is your business. That's true.
I appreciate that, but again, it has absolutely no impact on this vote right now.
I'm gonna finish and we're gonna get through it. I'm almost done. I think it does because it's unclear to me and it's never been articulated on these other MUDs how exactly that's handled. So I've said my piece. It's important that everybody understands that and knows, because I don't know when we've ever been explained exactly how these work, because it hadn't been when I've been here. So that's what I wanted to say. I was trying to be concise. I did the research before, as you've asked. John helped me out and set up a call.
Yeah.
So
Again,
my
we're just
understanding.
trying to make sure everybody has the
Yep.
knowledge and information to make that informed decision. But again, so Mr. Cooper had made the motion, Mr. Robertson made the second.
Can I just ask
Um,
one thing? So
Ms. Sherry,
what
yep.
we're voting on right now is just the water side of it, correct?
D1,
Item
D1.
D1, yes.
It's just the water side, because D2 would be the wastewater side.
That's correct. That's
And
another item
With the staff's recommended adjustments
with
to our,
staff's recommended adjustments. Yep.
Okay.
And that's for D1. So all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
no,
Mr. Sherman, no. Okay, moving on to D2, SA Given to Fly LLC wastewater service agreement, also known as Cadence Springs Development, South Santa Clara Road and Lower Seguin Road.
I'd like to make a motion to approve item D2 wastewater service agreement, also known as Cadence Springs Development at Santa Clara Road and Lower Seguin Road, with staff recommendations.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Cooper, a second by Mr. Robertson.
and my
Any
exact
discussion?
same comments before, I
Okay.
can concise, make
Noted.
it concise to that.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed?
No.
Mr. Sherman, no. Okay, going to D3, SA Given to Fly LLC Water Service Agreement, also known as Lily Trail Subdivision, FM 2538 and Miller Road.
So moved with staff recommendations.
I have a motion by Mr. Cooper. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a second by Mr. Robertson. All
Discussion. Is
discussion,
this a mud, Philip?
it's a PID.
It's a PID.
No.
So it's not a mud.
No.
Okay, any other questions, comments, concerns? Nope. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None, unanimous. Okay, D4, SA Given to Fly LLC wastewater service agreement, also known as Lily Trails Subdivision, FM 2538 and Miller Road.
So moved with staff recommendations.
I have a motion by Mr. Cooper.
I'll second.
I have a second by Mr. Robertson. Any discussion?
Yes, in D4, Gary, the lift station and force main routing are vague to be determined in the future. Can you speak to that?
Yes. The reason we made that language vague is those routes have not been settled. I've worked with Mosaic and their engineers on a couple of different routings. We've had a couple of meetings about it, and there's more to come on that, but we wanted to leave some options open so that we can approve plans that are in the best interest of Green Valley instead of picking a route and then finding out that it doesn't work.
And then under item 10, the terms of the contract, there's a duration of 5 calendar years where, the fees paid up front are valid for 5 calendar years. What happens if development doesn't conclude, if it doesn't start, if it doesn't finish within 5 years?
Well, that provision is for basically moving forward with the development. So if they, this one, the developer's paying full cost on the wastewater treatment plant. So they will pay at award of contract. So it'll be designed, it'll be bid, it'll come to the board for approval. Whenever we're ready to give notice to proceed and award the contract to whoever the contractor is, that's when the money is due. Once they put that amount of money in, the developers typically want to build houses as fast as possible. So I think there's still a small risk there that, economy changes, whatever happens there. But the 5-year contract extent or duration is really, they need to move forward within that 5 years or
Any construction or conclusion of construction?
it's not conclusion. It's just moving forward. They have to be moving forward with units.
And that was my concern if,
Right.
They fork over a large
Right.
sum of money, we take an action based on that, and then they get through phases 1 and 2.
Sure.
And then whatever happens, they can't conclude the balance of the phases.
Right.
They can't come back and say, we want the portion of the subsequent phases
Right.
of that initial money back.
Sure, understood. No, it's more about they need to move forward within that 5 years to
With
keep their contract.
Start of
Correct.
the project overall. If they don't
Correct.
finish it, that's their concern. Once they start and we construct the facilities.
Right.
There's no recourse to come back and look for that money
Right.
back.
Yeah, that's correct.
I'm done.
Okay. Any other concerns, comments, questions? James, Sherry? No? Okay. All right, so I have a motion by Mr. Cooper with the conditions from staff and a second by Mr. Robertson. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No. Okay, unanimous. All right, moving to items, agenda item F, consideration of possible actions on discussed items in executive session. I believe none is needed to be taken at this time. And moving to item G, adjournment, motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Motion by Mr. Cooper,
A second.
Second.
second by Sherry. All right, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All
Aye.
right, we are adjourned. Time is 10:16.
Merry Christmas, everybody. Happy New Year.
Thank you. Merry
Merry
Christmas.